Okay, are we good to get started again? Okay, so Clifford talked about some very interesting things, and I kind of picked up 3 words from there. So first one was which scared me, that was consultant, because I being a consultant myself, and he said consultants preach. So I had some agenda in mind which kind of went haywire now. Okay, so I need to talk about some different things. The other 2 things that I picked up was career and transformation, right? We're going to talk about precisely those 2 things now. I'll pick up a cue from where Clifford left, and then we're going to take it from there. Okay, so some of you already know me, and for those of you I don't, so I've been working into coaching and consulting for about 10 years now. Okay, work with different organizations across the globe. Certified Scrum coach, and unfortunately the only one in India as of now. And Amdocs, obviously, you will see here. So this is one of the organizations that I've worked with. As I said, Clifford kind of put my agenda into disarray. So I had to think about things that I need to talk to you. So before I came here and before we get started, I just want to know a few things from you. How many of you are actually project managers or managing teams here? Almost everyone. Okay. And how many of you heard about this monster, this dragon called as Agile? Even better. Okay, that puts my things to an easy part. So with this advent of Agile, there come a lot of questions, right? My new role, because I am a manager, what do I do because I am talking about Agile? What about team empowerment? How do we do that? These new people, these Agile people keep on talking about team empowerment, team empowerment. What do we do? Okay. Now in this new world, what happens with this? The most important part, right? What happens with this now? Okay. And who has got the last question on that board? Somebody has got the last question? We are trying to solve your issues also. So as I said, because I have no agenda, so I need to start with a story. Okay. Now this tale is actually, some of you will identify, because this is a tale about 3 project managers. Okay, 3 managers. So they were happily living in their work life. Day after day, they marshaled their troops, delivered projects happily. Everything was fine. Okay, everything was hunky-dory. They used to get good salaries, went home happily, had a good night's sleep. And then one fine day, tragedy struck. What happened? Something happened which changed their lives. The projects started failing for no apparent reason. They had been doing this for years. Okay? And because the projects were not up to the mark either on quality or requirements or timing and so on, the customers were like, what are you doing? Okay? I need my delivery now. What have you done to my money? And their troops also started revolting. We cannot work so long hours. Okay? I need my own space. I need to be able to decide. Okay? We talked about empowerment, right? So they heard a word called as empowerment. So we need to be empowered. I am the king. Now there is trouble, right? There is trouble in the happy land. Customers are not happy. Projects are not working. And who are the troops I'm talking about really? The team members, right? They are not exactly happy. Yes, as Clifford said, money is definitely one part of it. But there are other things also that they needed, right? So, there was even worse things to come. Okay? So, there was an ugly monster which was discovered in the town. It was called as Agile. So, what does Agile really mean? What does it bring to the table? Okay? So, all the 3 managers, as said, now they saw this monster differently. Okay? So let's talk about manager number 1. Because they had to decide, it was their career, right? Their career was at stake. So they had to decide, what do I do? Okay, because this Agile monster is in the town. Our first manager. He tried to think about it, he tried to fight it. No longer he was allowed in the meetings. Okay. Now you cannot be a part of the meetings because we are Agile. Okay. Some people are smiling already. Hope you're not facing this. Okay. So obviously, as a project manager, as a manager, he felt ill and miserable. No, this is a world that I cannot survive in. So finally, I pack my bags and I move to a different world. Okay, where I could be a developer, I could be into some other field, but I am not fit for this role. Bad state, right? Sorry state. Or sorry end to the story. Now we had the adventurous second one. He thought, rather than this monster killing me, let me kill the monster itself. So what did he do? Okay. So he started finding out ways to kill this monster. He said, no, agile is not good for you. Don't do this. This is going to create more trouble for you. You're going to get more work. Okay. So he was still a part of the meetings, but then he was still controlling the meetings. Okay. He was still saying agile is not good for us. Let's not do it. Okay. It is not going to work for us. So slowly, they started hating it. And ultimately, they went back to their own nice ways and they killed this agile monster. Happy state, right? Obviously, I saved my job. I'm very happy. They're still not happy? Okay. So let's look at what happened to the third manager. Okay. So this guy found, no, this doesn't seem like a monster. This seems to be a friend, which I can use. Okay. So this guy learned the virtues of delegation, how to be a hands-off manager. Now, what is this jargon about hands-off manager? When you are a manager, you need to dirty your hands and your socks and everything, right? You have to be with the team in the problems. And you are saying sit out. You cannot be with the team. So what is this hands-off manager? We'll discover shortly, obviously. The decisions were being done by the team. And this guy transformed himself. So I'm again stealing one word from Clifford, which is transform. So he transformed as a mentor, as a guide, as a buddy for the team. Okay. So what happened because of this change, this transformation that our manager went through? The team was even more happy. Okay. They started respecting the manager even more. So not only that, they used his experience, they used his problem-solving skills to gain even better productivity. Okay? So those were the stories of 3 managers. So there is a question for all of the managers and people who know about this agile monster. Which one are you with? Which is the manager that you align with? So which manager resides in you? First, second, or third? I see some very low voices. Really? We'll discover this. First of all, I want to discover this. Right? Obviously, you align with the third one now. So let me ask this next question. So are we successful in really becoming the third manager? How many of you would claim, yes, I am successful being the third manager?
Successful is a very vast term.
Yes.
Define being successful.
Exactly. So this is what we are going to discover now. Okay. Now to define what successful means, I need to revisit the things a bit and talk about agile philosophy. So let's ask some of my friends here what agile means for you. All of you know agile, right? Most of you know agile. How many of you don't know anything about agile? No one. Okay, 2. So you're going to be spared. You're going to be happy folks. Others are going to be quizzed. Okay. So let's learn from here. What does agile mean to you? Quickly. Sorry. What does agile mean to you? The process of retrace. Okay. Doing something iteratively again and again with the Bhumi, sorry, Bhumi and Vidya. I always get confused. In long years I've met them. Okay. Bhumi?
Agile to me is like very hands-on manager, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
Be aware and give team the full opportunity.
Okay.
Do what they want to.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, let them fail. If
Let them fail.
then
Okay, interesting. Okay. Please take this Willard. She's saying let the teams fail. We're going to learn how. Okay. More things about agile. Someone from this table? What does agile mean to you? Yes, perfect, perfect. So let's quickly spend 5 minutes revisiting the agile philosophy and let's see whether our thoughts align. So agile philosophy started by a declaration in 2001, as we all know, called the Agile Manifesto. And they said about 4 key manifesto, 4 key principles. The authors of that manifesto talked about 4 things. People matter more over processes. Okay? Yes, processes should be there. We are not saying deny that you should not have processes. But in the end, who matters is the people that you are working with. So in fact, in a lot of my teams, we kind of push them to stop calling them resources. We happily call them resources, right? Even the HR word itself says human resources. But we are not talking about inanimate things. We are talking about people in blood and flesh who have emotions, who are affected by their environment, right? And who behave unpredictably. So this is what I was talking to Rahul also during the first tea break. And going by the philosophies that we hear now, okay, within a few years, the things which are repetitive will be definitely taken over by the machines, by the computers. But the machines which are unpredictable, the machines which go by the emotions, who are those machines? Us, right? They will still be needed. There will still be people needed to work with them, manage them. Correct? That part cannot be taken away. And that's why it is important for a project, for a company to succeed, that you focus on individuals, you focus on people, rather than the processes. Yes, processes are important, they will stay, we are not saying them. But to succeed, invest in your people. Invest on how they interact with each other. Like the Infosys has done a very good part that Clifford mentioned. Investing in people, how they interact with their clients, how they interact with the larger world. The project Communique that he talked about. Okay, building that culture where people are comfortable, talking to each other, communicating and communicating correctly. Okay, so this is the first manifesto. Second one, we all know. So this is software, but I just transformed it to working product. When you bring any gadget home, any damn gadget home, how do you get started with it? It's a mobile phone or refrigerator or anything. How do you get started with it? You open this thing which shouts, read me, right? Go through end to end the manual, and then only you get your project started, right? No? Oh, that's interesting. Who said no? You said no, right? Okay. Then what do? You start exploring. Okay. Only if I have a problem, I read. And those companies are investing so much $1 million into paper and wasting that paper, right? So what do? I'm coming back to that part. I know where you are coming from, Bhumi, so I'm going to that part. Okay.
You should use your kids' bicycle. They come in a box, but you cannot prepare them without reading the reading.
Absolutely. So DIY kits and IKEA is coming to India, so definitely those will be useful. Okay. But what we talk about still, we do not say documentation is not required. What we talk about is comprehensive documentation. That's where the glitch about or the myth about Agile is. Agile says no documentation. No, it is incorrect. You still need to have a plan. You still need to have documentation as little as possible or just in time. So this is the second focus of the Agile Manifesto. Quickly, we'll move to third. This is we all know, and we have been saying this thing. We exist. That means we exist in business because of our customers. If your customers are not happy, you might as well be soon out of business. Do we agree? Right? So instead of giving them contracts and okay, because you do this, I am doing this. Okay? It is important the customers see the value. You collaborate with the customers rather than fighting with them. Do we agree? And this does not apply only to IT. This applies everywhere. Okay? Whether it is manufacturing, whether it is BFSI, insurance, all the industries, it applies everywhere. Last one. Planning is important. Plans are useless. How many of you align with that? Planning is important. Plans are useless. Vidya, what are your thoughts on that? Planning is important. Plans are useless. And if that is true, why?
If I have a like big plan for 1 year or something like that, and then if it gets failed, then I will be in a big loss. But if I have like on the maybe the monthly basis or something like that, then I can reevaluate and rethink on my planning.
Correct. So your plan, of which a lot of our as managers invest a lot of time on, is only as good as till the next change comes in. As soon as your next change comes in, whether it's a requirement change or your customer has changed something, or your some of your people have gone away, or there is a hartal or a strike in the city, that means whatever plan you had, it is gone for a toss, because it was based on certain assumptions. Correct? Do we agree? So that means as soon as a change comes in, we need to get into a planning again. So it is a continuous process rather than a one-time thing. So,
because of the inherent nature of software engineering, unlike manufacturing or other products, because human beings are giving the spec, and they are not very clear. We are not good at capturing, so we are not semantic. When we interact, why we are capturing the spec. So unless someone sees it, they are not very clear. They are not even clear. Customers are not clear what they want.
exactly.
That is the fundamental problem. Not the problem of the plan. The customers will not be very clear about the requirements.
Again, human influence coming into picture, right? Because who makes these plans? Who interacts on these plans? Humans, right? People work on them. Yes, and obviously they discover something. There are eureka moments like Archimedes had so many years back, which will always be there. You see something, you discover something. But if you are freezing on something, okay, this is the way this is going to be. Let me ask you something interesting here, and probably these guys already know. If I tell you now that I need you here, back here again, Monday morning, 9 o'clock exactly. How many people to commit to that? 9 o'clock, neither before, neither after. I need you 9 o'clock exactly here. How many would commit to it? You can raise your hand. Come on, we have got all the good processes. You know how to estimate, you know how to work. So only one person is confident enough. Yes?
Everybody will commit, but
So that maybe part is coming now, right? Maybe. Okay? But what I said is, I need an absolute commitment. 9 o'clock, Monday morning, you would be here. Can't commit, right? But we happily commit to our customers, 31st December 2013, 3 p.m., you will get the CD of the product. Or the plant will be in operation on this and this date or this and this time. So we try to be saints. As managers, we try to be saints. Okay, we can predict the future. We know exactly this will happen. I have seen all the possibilities. My plan cannot fail. Do you see that? I see a lot of smiles, but no answers. Yes, so this is, and that's why I brought about this part of transformation. The field of management itself, or the project management itself, has undergone a sea change. Earlier, these things, or these things were not in consideration. You have to build a plan. And with your experience, with the knowledge you have, your plan needs to be foolproof, right? You will take all the risks, you will take all the assumptions into picture and then say, yes, this is what my team will be able to deliver. And then obviously then you are on to the team's life also. If something does not happen, not going haywire, somebody is not behaving correctly, somebody left in the middle, okay? No, you have to complete it because we have given a commitment. Did I give a commitment or you gave a commitment? Okay? So, as managers, we need to bring about this change to the way we work. Correct? And that's why, what are the things that we need to do now in this new world? So I'm not going to go through this agile principles, though it was a part of it and we are short on time. So if you go to agilemanifesto.org/principles, you'll be able to find all these because this come from the Agile Manifesto. Okay? But there are some key values that this new age thinking is bringing now. What is the first and foremost? Right on the top. I don't know whether it is visible. Trust. And with trust comes collaboration. And when these two combine comes accountability. Accountability not only from the project manager, right? If something fails, the gun is put to the manager's head. No. The accountability is to the whole team. Correct? And with that, they need to bring about a goal-driven approach and not only develop the organization but develop themselves also. And who will facilitate this? As Clifford said earlier, the employees that we hire, are they all tuned into, well-groomed into this when they get started? No. That means somebody who has experience in this, they need to be grooming them. We do it also, right? But we right now groom them about how to do software, how to write .NET code, how to write Java code, how to fix up a particular machine part. Do we groom them about how to follow your goals? If you are falling behind, how to collaborate, how to communicate correctly? Yes, some companies which are very good, they have this as a part of this thing. But raising the flag at the right time, not hiding under the carpet till the last day comes, okay, now discovering something new. No. Okay? These are the new things that we need to talk about, and that means our role as a manager also needs to change. Okay? So with this, all of you would agree that we need a new version of a manager? Okay? So because I have a software background, so I call it Manager 2.0. You can call it something else also, so it is absolutely okay. Again, so let's try to create this new manager version. Okay? All of you ready to create a new avatar of yours? Good. So this is a small exercise for all of you for each table. Okay? Now, whether you're into IT or not into IT or any other field, you would know what are the typical roles and responsibilities of a manager. Do we agree? So as a team, write down about 10 of those. What are the typical responsibilities of a manager? Whether you belong to IT, non-IT does not matter, because typically the responsibilities are the same. Okay? So as a team, discuss together and write down about 10 responsibilities or 10 things that the manager has to do. Not in the new word. Okay? Version 1.0. So we are still talking about version 1.0. We have got precisely 5 minutes.
Sometimes yeah, these are more the earlier managers, scheduling, planning, scheduling, planning. Now it is all dedicated, right? They will schedule.
All project that we have taken. Okay. Come, but it does not mean we always give them a place in the house to sit. Welcoming does not mean please come and sit. Okay. Now this is one of the changes that you need to bring. We talked about continuous delivery of products. Exactly. Now this is a very interesting point. Let's say there is a new requirement or new thing your customer has come up with. Okay. He says, I need it now, for whatever reasons. Okay. But because you are the expert, you are the engineer, you are working on that product, you are working on that particular division, you know that if we bring about this new requirement now, it is going to change the rhythm of the whole team. It can impact the work that the team is doing now, and we may not get the benefits that are being perceived. As a customer, as a business person, I don't know about those things. You are the expert. So yes, we still listen to them. Yes, okay, this is what you need. And then we decide whether it is feasible to do it now or we can postpone it. So welcoming means we are still listening to them. We're still trying to understand, okay, what this new requirement, new thing is all about. But whether I do it now or I do it after 2 weeks or I do after 2 months, that is something as an experts we should guide our customers. That this will add more value if you do it 2 months from now rather than impacting how the team is doing work now. So that's why I said welcoming is different than giving a place to sit in. Not always do you do that.
But there are times when you have something for day 152. You know that you cannot accommodate it, but you have nowhere to sit.
Exactly. And that's why I refer to that movie Atithi Devo Bhava. Right? Sometimes things are beyond your control. You cannot do it. Correct? So what do? Go back to the last manifesto. Rewind back. How many people are awake? What was the last manifesto? What was the last manifesto? No. Yes. And I used one phrase. Planning is important. Plans are useless. That's precisely what I said. Right? If a new change comes in, you need to revisit whatever you had thought about. You thought we'll do it in 5 months. Now this critical thing has come up. That means you are bound to go back to the team with your manager or your requirement owner. What do we do now? Let's discuss again. That's what is important. You cannot be sticking to your plan. And it applies everywhere. Okay? Another important part, business people and developers work together daily throughout the project. So that means the conduit that used to be there, okay, I have got a manager with me, manager as a director consults the sales team goes to someone else and talks to the customer, that pipeline is gone. It is being advised now by using agile principles that as much as possible expose the team directly to the clients so that they learn it firsthand. Remember the word Chinese whispers? How many of you know about Chinese whispers? Okay, Mahesh says yes, I know it, definitely. So what is Chinese whispers, Mahesh? Absolutely. So the more the levels of layers of communication in between, the more probability it is that the understanding of the team will go wrong. Okay? So as much as possible, remove those layers and put the customer directly in touch with the team. I said as much as possible.
His work, what he's supposed to do. He may not be expert in interpreting what the customer requirement is.
Exactly, exactly. And so I'm going to come back to one of the principles later on. Okay. So the idea is, yes, there will be people who have certain skills like business analyst and so on who have got that tact more. Yes, I can interpret customers' requirements better. And there are people who are hardcore techies who are down there, okay, I only know how to write a for loop or whatever. They don't think about anything else. But the idea is, when I talk about a team, I'm not talking about 6 developers sitting together. I'm also talking about, let's say, business analyst. I'm also talking about even a manager being there from his experience, trying to think through this together. It is not one person who is listening. It's the whole team which is listening. So yes, who is the expert in interpreting requirements, they still do their job. Okay? People who are there, they are trying to find out, who are not as business experts, they have to understand, okay, what does it mean for me in terms of changing things on the ground. Okay? The idea is, instead of trickling it down one by one, the whole thing comes together. Okay? Good. Face-to-face conversation as much as possible. We talked about Chinese whispers. So as much as possible, have a face-to-face information exchange with team and within the team. Okay? I'm not going to few of them because this will take at least 1 hour more, so I'm not going to go through all of those. But if you would see, there are few key things which are coming out, which I'm going to explain next. First is continuous iterative delivery that we talked about of work. The work needs to be continuously integrated. So if there are 6 teams working together, they need to be constantly collaborating with each other. This is a question that you asked. Okay, what do you mean by cross-functional? They need to have all those skills in a single team where they can deliver the complete work. Whether it's a business analyst you need, whether it's a tools operator you need, whether it's a QA engineer or test engineer you need, all these skills need to be contained within one team. Okay? Yes, very important. Team is self-managed. And this is where the most threat to our career comes from, because it is interpreted wrongly. Okay? Yes, team has to self-manage. They have to take decisions on their own, and this is what we need to equip them with. Obviously, with those value, accountability, sense of urgency that we talked about, and so on. Okay? And can this be built in a day? Can I hire 6 people who are absolutely working around to those? No, right? So you need to build these teams. And who will help in building these teams? You guys, absolutely. So again, as you see, the role is changing just from being a taskmaster to more of a mentor. Okay, thinking about or increasing that cloud of thought or cloud of responsibility even more. Customer collaboration we talked about. So it is no longer, okay, customer is sitting 1,000 miles away or 5,000 miles away and you are sitting here. You need to have a continuous exchange of information. So I don't get invisible with customers' money and requirements and then appear after 6 months. Every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks, as the case might be, I need to go back to the customer. This is what is the status now. Do we do this in manufacturing? Let's say if you have got a big order. Do we do it in BFSI? Let's ask Rahul, the best person to ask here. Is customer interaction important when you are talking about your field? Absolutely right. You cannot even go ahead without doing anything else. You cannot say, okay, please give me your investment and we'll tell you after 6 months where your investment has grown. Can you do that? Customers will kill you, right? Where is my money? So absolutely. So the customer collaboration is absolutely important. Just that when we turn into IT industry and other industry, we forget about these basic things. That's the other part. Okay. Visibility is absolutely a must because now there is not a single person whose sleeps are going to be disturbed every 12 o'clock in the night by a call from the customer, what happened to my project? So he needs to be able to answer the queries. That means he also needs visibility from the team. This is what we are doing at any point of time. Okay? So it's the responsibility of the team to create that visibility. So that means now I come to the second part of the little exercise we are doing. You have written down 10 responsibilities or about 10 things that the manager used to do, right? Now let's do a little thing. From the list that you have got, now you need to start crossing off a few things, which the manager is not expected to do now. What are those things? We talked about agile principles. I just give you a quick recap of agile philosophy. So anything that you saw on the board which conflicts with what you have written, let's cross that out. Thirty more seconds. Okay, let's go to the next step. I hope this is done. And you can take your own time later on also. Some things which are unnecessary because either it is done by the team or someone else. So no longer the manager needs to do that. Okay, you can also cross out those items from your list. And don't tell me nothing is left here. Okay, so have you done this already? Okay, good. The last one. There is a certain responsibility if it is done by the manager anymore, it would undermine the team's self-organization and management. So look through your list again. All done? Can we go ahead? Good. So I created a little list myself of all the responsibilities that Manager 1.0 had. So this is that list. Task assignments, tracking, commitments on behalf of the team, being the sends. Okay. Convincing that commitments are doable. Monitor team's progress, weekly updates, recruitment, hiring and firing, surfacing issues, appraisals, being the technology mentor for the team, and so on. So let me now start cutting out. Who will do the task assignment now? Oops. The team is self-managed, so they will do it on their own. Team is self-organized. Who will do the tracking? They should do their own. Okay. Who makes the commitments? Okay. Because they are self-organized and self-managed, it is expected from them to be able to realign, to be able to see, yes, this is not working, we need to do something else. They should be able to get up to that level. Okay, I see all smiles now starting coming up. More things getting cut. Who is feeling scared? The whole list will cut off again. Don't worry, don't worry.
Lunch doesn't get
Okay, but there are things still left now, so I've stopped my crossing now. So what remains? Hiring and firing, it still remains with you. Appraisals still remain with the manager. Planning the trainings, it still remains with the manager. Okay. Planning and overseeing the budgets, how to hire, what is the budget for what we can hire and so on, it still remains with the managers. It does not go away. But yes, providing advice, being the mentor to the team, okay, being the coach to the team, that still remains. That will never go away. Because of the experience that you carry, because of the work that you have done in the past, it still remains with the manager. Okay? So all in all, let's try to summarize. Yes, please.
I believe whatever we have got is still a shared responsibility, right? You cannot put the manager aside.
Yes, and that's what when Bhumi was talking about the hands of manager bit. Yes, it is initially it is very difficult. Okay, because you feel as much responsible, right? Because what will happen if the team is not able to do it? Correct? Whether a gun will be put to my head because you were the manager, you were not able to do it, or how do we fix the responsibility? How do I get the things done? And that's why I talked about one principle, which was visibility. Absolutely, and yes, and trust will come when there is visibility, because I cannot get feedback because of the work you are doing. So the team has not created visibility. As a manager, you will never get the trust from the team. Yes, they can do a good job of it. Correct? So raising the visibility at the right time, working with a sense of urgency, showing that accountability. This is something which the team has to bring on. Now, does that happen in a night or through a training, classroom training for 2 days, 3 days, 1 week? No. This takes time to build up. Yes, till that time, the team has been able to come to that level. Your role still stays. Where the intervention is required, you may need to intervene. We are not denying that. Now, a lot of agile texts, including Scrum, are silent about this. Who does this? Who does this typically? You have a contact point already defined. Scrum defines one contact point, which is Scrum Master. He takes over some of that responsibility from you. But when it comes to purely hiring and firing, when it comes to budget decision and so on, somebody still has to take a decision.
In this transformation phase, managers like this not to let up.
When did I say? I showed you 3 scenarios, right?
No, because what I understand what you said. If project A something goes wrong, our managers or maybe senior management don't go and talk to the team.
Exactly.
Tell them it's manager's job.
Exactly. So you need to manage your managers also.
This change should come together. It should come from upper management also.
So there was one.
The manager.
Absolutely. So there was one principle which was mentioned in the Agile Manifesto. Okay. Developers, customers, and business leaders work together. Now, I typically give the analogy of a train engine. Okay. How many parts it has? Anybody knows? Somebody, I mentioned it somewhere in some other conference also. Just about 1 million. And if one nut and bolt says, today I'm on strike, like Medha Patkar, I'm on hunger strike, I don't want to work today. What will happen to the train? Worst case, it can derail, right? Simple case, you might hear some noises or something else. So that means this whole engine has to work together. If some part of this is not working together, obviously you are bound to have issues. But then, because you are working as a team, you should be able to find ways to overcome this. And that's why it is very important that it is not project managed life, it gets miserable. The responsibility is shared. So you need to working as a mentor, as a coach with the team. They need to understand your issue and you need to understand their issues. If you say, okay, there is a wall in between, I enter the door and then I get in, I get out, no. Then this model is not going to succeed. Okay? So as I said, as a manager, you need to enforce and protect the boundaries. Both the limits that you cannot cross and the limits which others cannot cross, which includes the team, which includes the manager of managers and so on. And as Indians, typically, we find it very difficult to do that. Right? How many of you say, okay, your boss comes or your boss's boss comes, we have to do this today? What will you say? What will typically people say? हो जाएगा, try करेंगे. Okay? Maybe we'll do it. And what do the Israelis and our states guys understand from this? They will do it. And what happens at the end of the project? But you said you will do it. We never said we will do it. We said maybe we will try. Okay? So it is very difficult to say no. Can you say no? See, I can't even hear it. So let's try to practice this. When I say 3, all of us will say together.
You can say no, your PC increases. You have to
So and that's why this is one trait we Indians have to really practice. So let's practice this. When I say 1, 2, 3, you need to repeat this word. 1, 2, 3. No. Louder. 1, 2, 3. No. Yes, that's the way it has to be said. But then you have to have a reason behind it. So that I'm definitely taking. Okay? But as a manager, you would need to have certain chances where you would have to say no. The team cannot do it. Okay? Mr. US Post. At the same time, you need to encourage commitment. That mentorship needs to be there. Yes, the team is getting all this freedom, but they need to show this commitment, build that trust as you mentioned, show that visibility. So that mentorship comes from this team sitting here. So he's no longer a manager. He is a coach. Okay, and that's why they are stealing my bread and butter also. In fact, some of the guys in Amdocs, they have already changed their titles to team coach. Okay? Good. So he is also responsible for providing feedback to the team. Feedback is not typically end of the project, end of the cycle or appraisal cycle anymore. Adobe Systems, what have they done? What has Adobe done? They have done away with their annual appraisals. So when does that feedback session happen for them? Every month, every quarter. So they don't rely on, okay, once in a year feedback. They are having quarterly, monthly feedbacks. So be with the team, provide them a continuous feedback. So the manager, will he be ringmaster anymore? Okay, so what will he be? Will he be this also? No. So you need to be something else. What is that? Which you just now discovered. Manager 2.0. Okay. Now, with this, my part of speaking is finished. But before we go back to lunch, I want you to do one last exercise. Did you learn something from what I just presented? Something different than what you have been doing? Okay. So do you think it could be useful in your work life? I see a lot of yes. Okay, so I want you to write down those 2 things that you think you can change, maybe starting Monday morning when you get to office. 2 things that you want to take home from here, and yes, this is how I will change myself or the way I work with my team. So write down those 2 things for you. You're not going to those are two things. Perfect. Okay, two things you're going to do differently. Okay. Somebody wants to share their thoughts, or nobody wants to share their thoughts? Get out of this room, we need lunch. Yes, please. We are going to come back to questions, so please be a little patient. Guys, let's be silent, please. You can still keep writing your thoughts. Yes, Mahesh.
Periodic feedback, as a process in our organization, obviously we have this half-yearly appraisal, and that is there. But maybe one thought which is there is maybe institute something like a monthly session with my critical performers, so that some kind of realignment can happen.
Could be, possibly. Could be a good idea. Okay. More things anybody wants to share before I come back to questions? Yes, please. Absolutely. So yeah, throughout the hierarchy, throughout the organization, the message on or the things that you want the teams to do, that your employees should do, should be consistent. This is we as an organization are. So maybe, in fact, I advise a lot of organizations. They have a mission and vision hidden somewhere in some document, some website, somewhere. Printing them, putting them in big and bold in the team area. Okay, it constantly realigns that vision. Okay, because they know this is the goal that we are working for. I remember I was working at TCS, and so they had a mission of being top 10 by 2010, something like that. That was the mission that TCS had. Right. Okay, so maybe it has changed now, but that. Any office you go, any team area you go, even in the staircases, they used to shout it. Okay? So whatever you are doing, you need to be aligned to that particular thinking. That means how do I increase my customer base, improve the quality, and so on and so forth. So it has so many interpretations. Okay? So make those vision statements, mission statements shout for you. Very important. Okay? More things? Last one, and then we'll go to the question answers and then close.
Mainly listening, what we discussed, listening and explaining the risk if any new requirement comes, and what could be the impact on the team and also on the project delivery from the quality perspective and all. And secondly, I learned to say no.
Okay. Good.
If it's justified, no. If
justified, yes. Because if it is not justified, then you start losing that trust also, because that is very important. Okay, so yes, we'll go back to questions. Any questions that you would have? Yes, there is a big hand coming out here.
Just touching on the saying no bit. I just want to find out how do we deal with the problem that we have experienced is not so much saying no to the client, it's saying no to the management, the Indian, mentality where everyone carries. Hearing no is not henceforth you can't say no, right? So what challenge that we face is when we say no, even if it is justified, because the other person who is not wanting to hear no, it becomes a challenge.
Okay.
And it's kind of, so how do we deal with that?
Okay, so let me give an example, and there could be, because situations are different with different team and different people, but I'm trying to just give you a small generation which I could derive from this. Typically, as management, because I am unfortunately part of an executive management also, we live on numbers. Okay, ultimately it is about business profitability and customer satisfaction, the debate that always goes on, people versus customers. Okay, so we need customer satisfaction, we need business feasibility, business viability, and so on. So whenever you have to say no for some reason, okay, if you are able to relate it to the business goals or the business way of doing it directly, you get a better buy-in. Typically we say no because we don't have technology to do that, or we don't have time to do that, and so on. Those things cut ice very less. But yes, if I do this now, if we don't complete it, the quality might be different, and this is how it will affect our customer satisfaction or NPS score and those kind of things. That makes an impact. That also means, as a team member, as a manager, you need not be aware of only your team's things, but at a broader level, what are the company's initiatives? Where are we profitable? Why are we profitable? What are the key business focuses that we have got? Those kind of things you need to be constantly aware of. And most teams actually fail to convince their managements because of this precise reason, because they are seeing it from the top down. These are the numbers we need to produce. These are the people we have. How do we do it? So they have certain plan in mind. The other part is, we try to do it like communication mostly happens through mails or through one of these things. The part that we mentioned of face-to-face communication, we want to talk to you, can we call a meeting? Yes, if it is remote, then it is even more difficult. But being face-to-face helps you communicate better. If you try to do the same thing over a mail, writing down presentations and documents on, again, it fails to cut the ties. But again, it will depend on individual how your approach is, but these tips can help. Okay, more questions?
Yeah, you talked about self-managed team and agile methodology. It is successful, obviously. I'm not a practitioner, I'm in support. But in modern management these days, the word of micromanagement is not a no word. It is still papers are being written on micromanagement. There are blogs, if you go to Google, people are talking about micromanagement. So this word, in modern management these days, micromanagement still exists, and it is successfully practiced in organizations where there are Scrum and Agile all practiced together.
I'm not denying that theory, neither I will be, but because as I say it again and again with a lot of things also, any new methodology, any new thinking that you bring into picture, okay, and this has been true for all the management theories, whether it is Agile or whether it is something else, they stand on certain home grounds, right? In these situations you apply, you get the maximum benefit. If this is the inputs you provide, you get the maximum benefits out of that theory. Then there are certain areas where that theory will not work at all, whatever you try. NASA missions, for example, they are very, very time critical. And there, if you don't manage strictly and if you don't micromanage, can you really achieve things? Maybe you are at a very high risk. Okay? Yes, so every theory has its home ground. So I'm not denying that, yes, whether this is good or this is bad, micromanaging is totally bad and so on. Absolutely no. That's not the part. The idea is, and that's why Agile, I don't call it a process. I call it a philosophy. Understand where that philosophy applies. What are the best benefits you can take from it, and then use those practices. We say, okay, we are using Agile. I am doing a daily stand-up. I am Agile. I am doing a sprint planning. I am Agile. No. That does not make you Agile. Following the philosophy can make you Agile. Yes. So don't apply blindly. Apply it with a mind and a heart both in place. Then, yes, you have better chances of success. Okay? More questions? Tushar, you had something to say and add to what was said?
Yeah, actually, to her question, like how to say no. This is what I usually give as an example. For example, we both are flying from Delhi to Mumbai in a flight, and flight is delayed for whatever damn reason. Yeah, do I need to communicate it to you, or you need to ask me for it? No, we both know it. Everyone on the plane knows it. Now that's the place, or that's the environment where you need to reach with your customers and with your managers and with your team, that we are all flying in it together. In that situation, neither the manager will ask you to do something which you will say no, or neither you will be in a situation where you will have to say no. Am I making sense? So, and that is what is the point of Agile and the principles that he was talking about, trust and visibility. When you are going and flying in it together, the entire trust is there, the entire visibility is there, you are absolutely transparent. And that's what you need to, look out for or aim
that's
for.
The right analogy, because the engine analogy I also gave you, it's the same thing. We are all in it together. Even if one part of this is not working, it is not going to work for you. So you need to bring everybody on the same table. This is the expectations. This is what we are doing. This is what you can expect as an output, maybe short term, long term. Bringing out challenges. This is very essential. Okay. This table had a question you want to ask now?
industry where we fight for, deals as a startup or a small company. Will this be applicable in this similar fashion? Because day and day you fight for the deal.
Yes, absolutely. And incidentally, when Ken Schwaber wrote Scrum, okay, the first thing that he said was, this is meant for small teams sitting together. Precisely the environment that you find in a startup. So there, as I said, it is not only responsibility of the founder of that startup to succeed. It becomes the responsibility of the whole team, because their survival itself is dependent on whether the company is profitable, whether you are getting business. And how do we, and that's why it is very important for them to be exposed also, that these are our competitors, this is how the market scenario is, and this is what we're going to do. In fact, very recently, again, my organization, which I work with, it is not a very big organization in India, we have 100 people. Okay? But even with that 100 people, like last week we did what you call as a kickoff, where each and every employee was there, and we told them, okay, this is how the profitability is going to be, these are the customers, these are our plans for this thing, not only at a very high level, but this unit will get this much amount of business. For example, my unit, consulting unit, has this much revenue targets. So everybody at that point is aware, this is where we are, this is what we need to do to be able to get there.
All things align in place apart from the deadline. Because in a small list, normally what happens is how you win the deal is by giving a value add to the customer, saying, I can deliver you in this many hours, days or months, compared to the others who will take more.
Correct.
So customer, whoever is interested in that extra 2 deals, that's how normally small companies win the deal. So the time constraint to self-managed teams, there is a conflict.
Again, as I say it again, okay, there is nothing in the philosophy which says time constraints. What it says is individuals and interactions, correct? If the team says yes, we know there is a time constraint. They are well aware of this constraint, okay, and they know our business depends on that. Do you think anybody will refuse? No, they will not. But what we do typically as managers, we hide this part from them. We tell them, okay, you have to work extra hours on Saturday, Sunday because I am saying so. But if you do this part, that we are doing this because this was done, even the sales commitments are done consulting with the team to some extent, then you can break this barrier. Otherwise, if you are saying this, what will happen if this is not conveyed to the team? They will get frustrated, there's a burnout scenario, and ultimately maybe your best performers might quit. Where is the loss? Ultimately, the team is still at a loss, right? So removing those barriers, creating the visibility is still important in this case also.
So like accomplishment of one complete set of environment, say if you say agile philosophy also, may not be foolproof in every scenario. Maybe at some point in time it is required, but what I mean to say is like in the same environment, it could be a micromanagement is important because the requirement, the set of situation or circumstances, it could be that works because ultimately when business works, it has to be business profitability, which is the key and which is the objective. And because since you say agile principle works on the home grounds, yes, unless and until those home grounds are there, this philosophy can't be touched, and any other philosophy, because even the micromanagement will have some home grounds.
Exactly, and that's why I have a very strong belief, and that's the precise reason I came into this world itself. I strongly believe agile philosophy works everywhere. Agile practices, and I'm changing from principle to practices, you might need to apply selectively. Self-managed is a practice, it is not a philosophy. Okay? Being time constrained, those iterations is a practice, not a philosophy. What are the philosophies? Focus on people. If people are working for their whatever process you are using, you can still be agile. If you focus on customer, whatever contracts you are writing, you are still agile. If you are able to change your plans accordingly, as the customer changes, the needs changes, you are still agile. You might be using a waterfall practice, you might be using a lean practice, you might be using Scrum practice or anything else. You can still be agile. Okay? Now, without taking much time between you and the lunch now, there are more questions will be in the lunch. If you have more, there are more things that I have written on my blogs, and there is a devilish cousin of mine also who also writes. So if you want to read about his thoughts also, there are 2 websites that you can refer to. And my employer Zebia, we have been practicing Agile for last 8 years as a company. So that remains as hard. So we have some great technical as well as management blogs on Agile. you want to read more about that, and those are my contact details. So with this, I say sayonara, and any more questions, we will take this to lunch, and you have my mail ID, Skype ID, please feel free to reach to me. Okay? No more between the lunch and apart from Mahesh. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Madhur. Can we have the AAAs, Avani Aparna from Amdocs, to give a small memento to Mr. Madhur Kathuria? From Sangad, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, we can break for lunch. Lunch is for 1 hour. The food will be served at the restaurant in the lobby level. There could be a little crowd because there are even other conferences where people are coming and having their lunch. So take it slowly, and we will break for 1 hour.
Okay.
Thanks.